Hello there, everybody, and welcome to Harrah's Hoosier Park. Michael Chamberlain and Jacob Reinheimer here in the Dan Pat studio as we take another step on the road to the Derby. And Jacob, you were just in Florida last weekend, and we are taking you back to Florida with the Grade 2 Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream Park, a field of 8 going a mile and a 16th.
Yeah, really strong field as we get into the meat of this road to the Derby contest, approaching the midway point, not too far away from it. So it is crunch time now if you're going to start racking up those points, something we have done okay at. We've racked up a single point in each of the last two contest races, but I like how we're going into this race.
The weather-delayed Rebel. Yeah. We each ran third in there with Sandman. So I'm sitting at 3 points. You're sitting at 8 points on the road to the Derby as we continue to fire on down toward the first Saturday in May. We've got a field of 8 in here, as I mentioned, as we put the selections on the board. And we do agree on the same 2 horses at the top of this race. I think the 3 Burnham Square and the 6 River Thames are just a shade better than everyone else in this race.
Yeah, something we were discussing. Really looks like kind of a 2-horse race on paper. I do think there are a couple more that could jump up, but you have some bigger question marks about those than you do the 2 that we have on top.
And I did go with River Thames on top. Has only 2 starts, has not gone around 2 turns yet. But Todd Pletcher trainee, John Velasquez, will ride by McLean's Music out of a Discreet Cat mare. This horse was a $200,000 purchase in August of 2023 at the Saratoga sale. And both races have produced buyer speed figures in the 90s. And that win on February 1st, which is the same day that Burnham Square won the Grade 3 Holy Bull, River Thames was a visually impressive winner. And I do think that a victory on Saturday could stamp River Thames as the East Coast favorite for the Kentucky Derby come first Saturday in May. Because my guess is they'll go to the Florida Derby and then go to Kentucky. But if this horse wins against this field on Saturday, I think this one's going to be the one to beat.
And you talked about stretching out to two turns for the first time. That's why I opted to go with the other one of the 2 big favorites, Burnham Square, who's won back-to-back, both over this Gulfstream Park surface, won by 9 lengths against Maiden Special Weight Company 2 back, and then that win in the Holy Bull, which we talked about back on February 1st, the same day that River Thames won at Gulfstream. But I was so impressed by that effort. He drew the far outside, just very methodically picked his way through the field, and then he was still going strong. Won by nearly 2 lengths on that day over Tappan Street, who I know we both liked going into that race as well. So no shame in that. Even the first 2 starts, a start at Keeneland and Churchill Downs, he hasn't been beaten by more than a length in his 2 defeats. He's hitting the board in all 4 starts. So I really like Burnham Square. I think he's getting better with each start he goes postward. So for that reason, I think this is going to set up nicely for him where he can stalk from just off the pace, and I think he'll be a factor turning for home.
Now, after the top 2, we do agree on one other horse. I have the 2-horse Sovereignty third, and you have Sovereignty fourth. Bill Mott, the trainer, a colt by Into Mischief out of a Bernardini mare. That's fantastic breeding. This horse was the winner of the Grade 3 Street Sense by 5 lengths as the betting favorite at Churchill Downs last October. So a graded stakes winner already, that being a Grade 3 race, and comes back for the 2025 debut here.
Yeah, and you have to like that start in the street since Sandman finished 3rd in that race. Fantastic 2 horses we liked last week going back to that Rebel Stakes. So a lot to like for Sovereignty. It's just the layoff, right? The first time we've seen him since the end of October. So I think you have to have him on the ticket. I just don't know if he's ready to go with those top 2 selections first start off the bench. But then you mentioned once we get away from those other 3, we go to opposite ends of the starting gate for our other selection. I go to the far outside with Keep It Easy here. Really big fan of this horse coming off a 5 1/4 length win in the Ed Brown at Churchill Downs. That was at 6.5 furlongs, stretching out to a mile and 16th. He hasn't gone further than that 6.5 furlong distance, but I think he's got the pedigree to be able to do it. He's the son of Hard Spun out of an English Channel mare. I'm not going to fault him for that start 2 back. He had a bad stumble at the start, never had a chance to get into the race, but then if you go back to June 27th of last year at Churchill, he was a winner there by 4. So I think there's a lot of upside for Keep It Easy.
And I'm going to use the 1-horse Gate to Wire in the 4th spot. This is the second Todd Pletcher trainee in this field of 8. Last out in the Swale, was a big winner at 7 furlongs. That was just an impressive performance at odds of 13-1, led by a head at the top of the stretch, and that lead was 5 lengths as the race ended. And again, the field of the Swale was not quite what it was in the Holy Bull, but still, some horses have come out of the Swale and done well on the road of the Triple Crown. Dylan Davis is going to ride this colt as he did that last start. That last start was also the first time on the dirt. Had been on the turf and the artificial surface at Gulfstream prior to that. So second time now on the main track for number 1, Gate to Wire, and could get the perfect trip if you think about it. If there's any kind of a speed duel up front, this horse has a tendency to just sit mid-pack, and if this one repeats that move that he put forth in the Swale, this one could maybe do something at a nice little price.
Yeah, certainly poised in a good position to do so, as now we're starting to see more and more of those Todd Pletcher trainees pop up on this road to the Derby as he looks to try to win another one. But very competitive race, as again, we both feel like it's a 2-horse race, but good to get a look at a couple of those other competitors.
Yes, I can't wait. This is going to be a fantastic race on Saturday. The Grade 2 Fountain of Youth Stakes, one of a multitude of stakes races at Gulfstream on Saturday. La Cara, who was a big winner at Tampa Bay on the day of the Sam F. Davis, is coming back in one of the earlier races as well. And if she wins, she might be going to the Kentucky Oaks as she continues on, because she was a very strong winner that day at Tampa Bay not a little more than a month ago. So as we will be wrapping things up here, we do remind you, be sure to come out to Harrah's Hoosier Park. You can enter the contest at any of our trackside promotional kiosks. You can also do it at our satellite sites, one in New Haven, one in downtown Indianapolis. Post time for the Fountain of Youth about 5:45, so be sure to get here early enough that you don't get shut out.
Absolutely, and not quite as much time as we had last weekend with the Rebel Stakes, where we gave everyone 2 days to get those picks in. It all worked out. I'm glad it worked out with the schedule change, and appreciate everyone who's been playing along. Reminder, if you've played every week to this point, be sure to continue to do so, because you're going to rack up 2,000 total rewards credits at the end of this contest if you played every contest week. And again, we have a $2,000 grand prize for whoever racks up the most points, so there is a lot of money on the line for this Road to the Derby contest.
Honestly, if they have a frozen track at Gulfstream, we got a whole other set of issues to be talking about come Saturday. But should be a great race. Looking very forward to it. The next step on the road to the Florida Derby, which of course is part of the road to the Kentucky Derby, and that is why we are here. For Jacob Reinheimer, I'm Michael Chamberlain, wishing the best of luck to you all.